All right. Oh boy, I seen Hatman upload a video. He was talking about Simon Jordan's most recent episode of his podcast. And I don't listen to Simon Jordan. There are certain times where I do listen to TalkSport where they do have some good stuff on. When it comes to boxing, it can be okay, but with Simon Jordan's show, it's a hard listen. I only listen to it if it's something if there ever is something of value to listen to, or he ever does. More often than not, it's not that if he says anything that kind of resonates with me that's a very good point. More often than not, it's something completely ridiculous that he comes out with. And today is no different. So I had a listen. I said, right, well, I listened to a bit of Hatman's video. I said, I got to listen to see what Jordan was actually talking about. Because he was obviously talking about Usyk Fury and, the rematch, amongst other things. And the man refuses, just point blank refuses to give Alexander Usyk any credit whatsoever. I mean, literally, this guy refuses at all to acknowledge that Alexander Usyk is a very, very good fighter, is a tremendously talented fighter, that he is a problem for any heavyweight in the world. He refuses to acknowledge that. Instead, now, he's asking the question, well, how good really are Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury if Alexander Usyk can come to heavyweight and beat them? Well, how good really was Vladimir Klitschko if Ross Purity could stop him, if Corey Sanders and Lamont Brewster can stop him? How good is that win over Tyson Fury, or that win that Tyson Fury has over Klitschko if, he lost to those guys, because who the hell are those guys in the grand scheme of things? I think the best thing to do is to play a little excerpt of what Simon Jordan was talking about. And I do like at the end of the first bit, I cut it out. He goes to Spencer Oliver, who is not the best pundit in the world. I've said that for a long time. In fact, he might be, in my opinion, one of the worst out there. He really doesn't get it when it comes to kind of punditry and stuff like that. But Simon Jordan went to Spencer Oliver and basically said, get your head out of AJ's you-know-what. And I had to laugh because this is Simon Jordan and the whole of TalkSport really, but Garrett A. Davis is probably the king of it. But Simon Jordan, I mean, my guy has his head so far up a certain part of Tyson Fury. I found it funny that he'd accuse Simon Jordan. I found it funny that he would accuse Spencer Oliver of it. Have a quick listen on screen and then I will chive in and give my 2 cents.
We've talked about Anthony Joshua and we've talked about Tyson Fury as being great, great fighters. In my mind's eye, is there a question to be asked and answered that they're not as good as we think they are? Because I think that if Usyk steps up against Lennox Lewis would have ragdolled him. Well, and I look at this generation of heavyweights, with all due respect, Fraser, because you're a current heavyweight, and look at them and say, are they as good as we've made them out to be? Is Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury as good as we've made them out to be, that Alexander Usyk can step up despite the great footwork, despite the angles that he makes, and despite the boxing IQ, and do the damage that he's done to these so-called invincible or certainly significant heavyweights? For Usyk in the second fight with Fury, because I certainly do. I go along with Fraser to some extent, which is if the Fury that we have looked at in the past turns up, which I'm not sure he was as conditioned as he needed to be for this fight, I think it will be a more difficult fight. But more importantly, what do you two think?
So he thinks that Lennox Lewis would ragdoll Alexander Usyk, and the fact that Alexander Usyk was able to come up from cruiserweight to heavyweight and beat the likes of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua twice means that we should question how good Fury and Joshua are. Well, I don't question how good Fury and Joshua are. I know they're two exceptional fighters. They're exceptionally talented. They lost to a better fighter in Alexander Usyk fairly. There was no disputing the Fury win, and there's no disputing either Joshua win. They went in there against Alexander Usyk, who was the better fighter. You look at Alexander Usyk and you see the skill set he brings to the table. He's tremendously fast. He's very well coordinated. His footwork is tremendous. He's got great punch selection, decent punching power. It's not, anything to necessarily write home about, but he's not feather-fisted. Ask Tyson Fury and ask Anthony Joshua that. And to go and say, well, if you're anything Lennox Lewis will ragdoll him. Well, Lennox Lewis is actually shorter than both Fury and Joshua. He was only 6'5". Not the height makes necessarily the most difference. But if Lennox Lewis went up against Alexander Usyk, I certainly don't think Lennox Lewis would be ragdolling Alexander Usyk. I think it would be a very competitive fight. It'd be a very hard fight for Lennox Lewis and a very competitive fight. I'm not sure. I probably would edge it to Lennox Lewis I love Lennox Lewis. I'm a big fan of Lennox Lewis, always have been. But I would probably edge it to him. But it would be a real closely run affair. I wouldn't be just flat out saying Lewis to win. You know, Lennox Lewis, certainly when it came to guys with speed, you know, look at early on, Shannon Briggs and their fight. Actually, Lennox Lewis should have had a knockdown scored against them in that first round against Shannon Briggs, because he got hit with a shot, fell back into the ropes, and the referee should have ruled that the ropes kept him up. Only when he wore Shannon Briggs down, Shannon Briggs ended up falling apart. You look at guys like the Ray Mercer fight, which was a 10-rounder. A lot of people feel like Lennox Lewis lost that, right? Both of those guys don't have a patch on Alexander Usyk. As good as Ray Mercer was in his prime, I still think that Alexander Usyk is much better. Styles do make fights. That's why I think Lennox Lewis probably would win. But to just insinuate that, Lennox Lewis would just walk right through Alexander Usyk, based off of what exactly? Based off of what? Simon Jordan. You know, he's just, this guy will never, even if Alexander Usyk goes in there in this rematch in December, beats Tyson Fury again, maybe even stops him, I can already see it. I can already see the writing on the walls from Simon Jordan. Oh, well, Tyson Fury, was he ever really that good? And maybe he just got Tyson Fury at the end of his career. You know, there won't be any, should we be talking about Alexander Usyk as a generational talent? Yes, because he is tremendously talented and he is a generational talent. I mean, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, first in over 20 years, and undisputed cruiserweight champion. All right, he's done that. And he's gone into those guys' backyards. He's won the fights comprehensively. The only fight that's ever really genuinely been close, and even then I feel like Usyk won it, was the Myris Briedis fight. And that happened in Latvia, lest we forget. Happened in Myris Briedis' native Latvia. Right, but still somehow Alexander Usyk beating the likes of Fury and Joshua, does it mean that they're not that good after all? I don't think so. And then he goes on to talk about Tyson Fury in the rematch and saying that he thinks it would be harder fought this time around. You got to bear in mind that Simon Jordan only a couple of weeks ago was, talking about Anthony Joshua, against Dubois, and he giving Dubois a chance and saying, you look at the fight that Usyk had with Tyson Fury, and it was close. It's like, yeah, you can keep saying it was close. That doesn't mean that it was. Officially, it's a split decision, right? But listen, was it really? The Joshua Usyk rematch was a split decision. Was that really a split decision? No, should have been unanimous. Both fights should have been. He talks in that interview or in that podcast about Fury having large stretches of domination. 9 minutes, 3 rounds, large stretches. Mate, you could go into a fight, a 12-round fight, win the first 3 rounds and not win another round for the fight. That's not a large stretch. You dominated the first little snippet of the fight and then eventually the other guy took over. And that's pretty much what happened in the Fury-Usyk fight. That's literally what happened. And then he goes on to say about Fury, needing to be in better shape, but was he in the best condition? What? Literally, my guy finished the Ngannou fight in October of last year. Went straight into camp. Originally, they were going to try and do a December date. Didn't happen because of the damage to Fury's face, fair enough, so they pushed it back to February. Yes, I'm aware John Fury was saying the camp wasn't going well, this, that, and the other. That's not to say that Tyson Fury wasn't training, and if you believe John Fury, because on the other hand, you have people like Simon Jordan, or not Simon Jordan, the other guy, Garrett A. Davis, part of TalkSport, saying how great the camp was going. So what is it? Was it a great camp? Was it not a great camp? So they have the February date. It then gets pushed back to May. So you're telling me my guy was probably in camp from November all the way to May, but somehow he wasn't in the best of shape. Somehow that wasn't Tyson Fury. Why would he have a camp that go on that long? Why would he take himself away from his friends, family and all that, in terms of the life that he likes leading, to train for so long if he didn't go in there with the intent of winning? It's just, honestly, Simon Jordan's logic when it comes to Tyson Fury is just mind-boggling. How this guy, it can never be the fact that Alexander Usyk was just the better guy. It has to be something else. It has to be something. So he beats Anthony Joshua twice, comprehensively. Okay, well, how good was Anthony Joshua? Well, Anthony Joshua was very good. I mean, you only have to look at the accomplishments he's done, not just as a professional, as an amateur. And you can see that this kid is talented. I say kid, he's older than me, but you know what I mean. You can see that he's talented as hell. You can see Joshua has a lot of potential. Alexander Usyk was just better those 2 fights. Alright, but Tyson Fury will beat him, and then he goes in and loses to Tyson Fury. Or Tyson Fury goes in and loses to Alexander Usyk. Well, how good was either guy? Both of them are very, very good. Tyson Fury is a tremendously talented fighter. No one will ever dispute that. And if you do, you don't know what you're looking for. because Tyson Fury is tremendously talented, as too is Anthony Joshua. They are world-class, world-level heavyweights who themselves, in other eras, like the 1990s, since you love bringing up Lennox Lewis, would have given Lennox Lewis plenty to think about. Tyson Fury would have given Lennox Lewis plenty to think about, as would Anthony Joshua. But no, they both lost to Alexander Usyk, so what does that mean? That they're not good? Give me a break. Seriously, mate. Give me a break. Could it not just be, is it not better to actually say, oh, geez, both these guys are very, very good and Usyk's beating them? Jeez, how good is this guy? You know, give him his praise. Give him his props, for God's sake. Oh, no, can't do that. Can't do that. And what will happen when Daniel... And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. If Daniel Dubois beats Anthony Joshua, expect Simon Jordan to sing his praises to high heaven. And what? He got stopped by Alexander Usyk. But just, you know, just forget about that. But should we not question how good Daniel Dubois is? Oh, no. We shouldn't do that. He's amazing. Just, he lost against Alexander. Just don't mention the war. Don't mention the war. That's what it'd be like with Simon Jordan. That's exactly what it would be like. So, yeah, Simon Jordan talking as usual. Nonsense. You know, he prides himself on being, you know, I ask the tough questions. To Eddie Hearn, yeah, you do. And sometimes you just go way overboard. There's a real dislike you have for Eddie Hearn there for whatever reason. But you do ask him the tough questions from time to time, and I think he needs it, especially in the Conor Benn situation, yes. But then you just do these silly podcasts where, like, as I go back to the Carl Froch one you done last year, as if Simon Jordan's watching this video, but you know what I mean. He was making outrageous claims about Joshua fighting Klitschko, who had been retired for 2 years, when the Fury fight hadn't even been 2 years ago. And he'd been trying wholeheartedly throughout the course of 2016 to get that fight over the line. And Tyson Fury was the one who stopped the fight happening. And he goes and claims, Carl Froch, that Klitschko was retired and he was out of the ring for 2 years when he fought Joshua. And there was no sort of, well, hang on a minute. Because surely anyone could have seen, everyone knew in 2016, even non-boxing fans knew. Oh yeah, Fury Klitschko, they were trying to get that fight happen, and then Fury had his issues. You know? But that's Simon Jordan. That's Simon Jordan in a nutshell, and yeah. Anyway, rant over. I will leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. And subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. No midweek report. Most likely no midweek report tomorrow. I'm probably going to do a live. I haven't done a midweek live in a long ass time. Probably going to do one because we won't be able to do a live. Well, we might be able to do a live in the not too distant future. We'll have to see how kind of Wi-Fi setup and all is over in the UK. But last one here for a while. Certainly for a while anyway. So I might just bring out the live equipment and for old time's sakes, the little kind of one last dance of a live here before we move on to new pastures. Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Peace.